Hey everybody, welcome to Trading the Close. My name is Gareth Soloway, Chief Market Strategist here at VerifiedInvesting.com. Now, we have some big stuff, another big sell-off on Wall Street. S&P right now down about 1.4%, but there's some key signals that may point to a big sell-off on Friday, tomorrow, going into the weekend. Let's first check out what the market is doing today as we go over to the big board here. We can see basically, again, Dow down 550 points, NASDAQ down another 366, S&P down 79 points. So again, 2% on the S&P, 1.5 to 1.25 or so on the S&P and the Dow Jones Industrial Average. The heat map over here, you can see again a lot of red with big cap tech, folks, except for Nvidia. Nvidia is basically around the flat line, but aside from that, red, 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 and even over here, a lot of red. That tells us it's a broad-based sell-off today, no doubt about it. Oil today down about $1.10. Gold is making a new all-time high. Tomorrow might be the day for $3,000 an ounce on gold, and Bitcoin coming down hard as the stock market's selling. We're seeing Bitcoin come down. Remember, 74,000 is my downside target on that. Now listen, as we talk about this market, we have to understand this is a psychological game now with investors. All right, you have tariffs constantly being threatened left and right. Investors are getting tired of it. We don't know the uncertainty or uncertainty of the whole situation. And again, you have economic data that continues to point towards a weaker economy, which means lower profit margins and ultimately lower profits for S&P, NASDAQ stocks, etc. All right, let's go over and go through some of these charts here today. What we have here on the S&P, look at this, guys. This is a big deal. I was watching today from the low on Tuesday whether or not we close below it or above it. Below it, it means we're very vulnerable to another sell-off tomorrow. And again, as of now, it looks like we're going to close below the low from Tuesday. That could yield a big move down tomorrow that takes us to our next big pivot on the S&P. Here on the SPY, this would be 540. It would be about 5,400 on the S&P 500, all right? But again, the close today is not a good close for a market that staged a small bounce yesterday. To just this quickly close below Tuesday's low pivot, that again is a very bearish sign, and we could be headed down towards this level on the SPY. NASDAQ as well. This is the weekly NASDAQ chart, and you can see again we're on our fourth straight week to the downside. In terms of first support, this is a gap fill right here at around 16,700. That would be a drop of about 500 to 600 points tomorrow if we flush into that level on the NASDAQ. So again, this is my next big level on the NASDAQ, and I do think by maybe either tomorrow or Monday, we could be into this level, that big of a sell-off. Now, stocks bucking the trend. Sure, Nvidia is basically flat on the day, but again, notice it's right at the neckline. So this head and shoulder pattern right here, it broke, retraced, it's still holding right there. Maybe a glimmer of hope if we can get a bounce tomorrow, although unlikely. That would be something very interesting to watch. Apple, head and shoulder pattern continues to decimate the stock. It continues to break lower, down another 3.5%. Where's the first level of support on Apple? Not until you get down to here. All right, if we take a look, it's right around 197, a little area here, a little low pivot right there. Again, that would be your key level. Also, look at this trend line, this level that's just coming up in the underbelly, same sort of thing. That's going to be your big bounce level on Apple, right around 197 to 193. If it comes down there in a straight shot, that would be a great swing trade, in my opinion, a place where you would expect a big bounce on the stock. JP Morgan hitting its first level today of support right here. I do think it could go as low as around 221 gap fill, but this would be a level now where it looks like it could bounce. So again, look for maybe a little bit of a drop to 221 tomorrow, and then maybe the start of a bounce. Another stock on my radar is Walmart. Walmart, which has cascaded to the downside, filled a major gap here. Notice it has bounced off of that level, showing signs of relative strength. And then we have Amazon here, which I have a big level I'll be watching tomorrow at around 186 Pierce. This would be technical support. and I'd be looking at that as a buyable level. All right, let's flip over to Bitcoin and see what Bitcoin is doing today, and we can see it is selling off. And again, the kicker here on Bitcoin is that, again, it is down, but remember, the S&P is making short-term lower lows. Bitcoin is not. Now, again, I'm not saying that that's a huge signal for Bitcoin, but it certainly is a little bit of a relative strength signal on Bitcoin. I still think it has to come down here, but maybe it tells us that if it does come here, we get a very significant bounce, maybe 10, 20% off of that level. I'm going to keep it on my radar, but I still anticipate a move down to that $73,000 to $74,000 level. Gold, let's talk some gold here today. Look at this move on gold. In fact, we'll go over to the big board to take a look at it here. If we go to the big board, we can see again, it broke above this high right here. What does that mean? It means that it basically just annihilated the former pivot high, and this should continue up towards this upper level here. So we should be looking at around 3,035 as an upside target. A great move to the upside. And again, once it gets here, I actually do think it stalls out, and you'll look for some consolidation and digestion. Again, it's had an amazing bull move. And keep in mind, gold for the year, I mean, if we look at where this was in January right here, you're talking about from about 2,600 now to 3,000. So well over 10% upside on gold, far outpacing what the S&P is doing. Obviously, S&P is negative, and then also Bitcoin coming well off those. So gold, again, shining as a performer in 2025. All right, a couple other things. We did see confirmation on silver. Silver, again, confirming to the upside, which, again, should solidify continuation up into this 3480 level. Again, close above, confirming the breakout. Upside resistance would be your next level to go by. Oil today, small pullback on the chop day. You can see just a lot of chop on the daily chart here, left and right, every which way. I still would favor a small bounce higher before that bigger rollover. And then natural gas here, folks. Nat gas, if we bring up the correct chart on natural gas, bear with me as I bring it up here. There we go. Nat gas, again, we talked about this being the first big battle level on natural gas, and sure enough, so far it has held that. The question is, if the markets and de-risking continues, will it break? I think eventually it does. Even if it bounces for a couple days here, eventually I think we roll over and head down to this 325-ish level on natural gas. All right, so the essence of today's action, to summarize, the S&P closing below Tuesday's low. Significant, yes. Why? Because, again, you got CPI and PPI that were better than expected, and the market could not hold the bounce that it had yesterday and closed below Tuesday's low. Technically speaking, psychologically speaking, that does a lot of damage, and we likely are headed lower in this market in the near term. The great thing about it is the downside moves like this are going to yield great opportunities for swing trades. Just like yesterday, I closed out Reddit on a pop for about 15%, APP on a pop for about 15%. Big drops yield big bounces. You just have to know when the heck to get out. Same thing with Tesla. I actually like Tesla down here. I think it's going to get a bigger bounce. But again, it is chopping around, although still well off of the lows from just a day or two ago. All right, guys. On that note, I'll be back tomorrow for the game plan. As always, stay tuned. I will keep you posted on the technicals on the charts. Take care.
So last time I talked about my plan about setting healthy boundaries. Now I'm going to take this mini game and hopefully take it with you this time. So this is anagrams, uplift and support your growth. Let's see how I did. All right, guys. So after that module, I got this Game Master reward I can claim. I get 0.2 more legacy tokens, so I'm up to 19. So I'm having a great time doing this. Thank you again, Legacy Academy, for being our sponsor.